Okay, so nested function calls. Nested function calls are basically functions inside functions. So to make sense of that, we're gonna use an example as always, but some two things you need to know is one, the innermost function calls are resolved first, which means it's from right to left. And second thing is returned value is used as an argument for the next outer function. So if this is a function and this is a function, it's gonna return this value and it's gonna use it here for this function. So let's use an example to help us understand. So here's a function that I'm gonna be writing. So we have a variable num, and it's gonna be taking the input of this little print statement. So it's gonna tell you to enter a positive number. If you enter a positive number, it does nothing. Cool. Okay, so we want to say num equals to float num. So what this does is this is basically typecasting. So you've seen it before where we do float and then we surround it with parentheses, but this is I guess you could say this is an example of a nested function call, but to do it not nested, this is the normal way. Okay, so moving on. Let me just do more before I run this code. You can say num equals to ABS and num. So ABS stands for absolute value, not anti-braking system if you're into cars, but yeah. Okay, next one we can say num equals to round and num. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the input of this, enter a positive number, we're going to enter a positive number, it's going to store it in num, and then we're going to convert it to a float, and then we're going to take the absolute value of it and we're going to store it in num, and then we're going to round it and store it in num. So last but not least, we want to print num. Cool. So enter a positive number, we can say 2, sorry, and it gives you 2. If you say 4.5, it returns 4 because it's rounding and it's taking the absolute value and it's taking the float. So it accepts a float, but it'll still round it at the end. And if, let's say, the person doesn't listen and enters a negative number, it'll still return a positive number because we asked for a positive number only, not negative. Okay, so here is how you would do the same function but in a nested format. You want to say print, and then within print, what do we want to do first? We want to convert it to a float. So float, and inside float we want to input, and inside the input we want to say enter a positive number. And let me just comment this out. Cool. Okay, so right now we have print, float, input. So now this is going to execute first, and then this, and then this. But let's keep it going and add the rest, which is ABS and round. So we're going to say ABS, and you need to close it off at the end, and also round. And again, close it off at the end and surround the whole function with the parentheses. So as you can see right here, from right to left, we start with the input function, then float, then ABS, then round, then print. And as you can see from right to left, it's going to be using the returned value as an argument for the outer function, and then the outer function, and then the outer function, and it just keeps going until the end. So if you run this code, it'll do the same thing as the previous code. Enter a positive number, 3, it returns 3. 3.5, it returns 4 because it's rounding up. And if you do negative 3.5, then it'll still convert it to 4. Because first we're taking the absolute value of it, which is 3.5, and then we're rounding it up. So that's basically it for nested function calls in Python. If you like this video or learned something new, please like and subscribe. I have a lot more computer science content coming, not just Python. And as always, the full code will be in the comments down below.